Join me in the kitchen today as I restock our kitchen for the week ahead. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Abby, and each week I like to spend a couple hours doing a little bit of meal prep. And how I like to meal prep is more so preparing components of meals, having some items that are staples in our kitchen that we can easily grab from. And I like to consider the meals that I'm making throughout the week, what I might have leftovers of, and what's going to be needed to be used up. And then I can just kind of fill in the gaps accordingly. So to start out today, I am making up a batch of sourdough crackers, and this recipe is super simple. You can use either active sourdough starter or discard for this. And I just add a bunch of that to a bowl, season it pretty simply with some salt, and I'm doing some herbs de Provence today. You can do whatever herb combination that you like. And I'm adding in a little bit of melted butter. That just gets all mixed together and then spread out really thin on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Since I'm doing a double batch of the sourdough crackers, I'm dividing that sourdough mixture between 2 baking sheets, and I do like to use an offset spatula to spread it out, and that just helps to ensure that the crackers cook really evenly. A meal prep staple for us is either hard or soft-boiled eggs. We have chickens that are laying really well right now, so I'm always trying to use them up, and it's a great protein option to have on hand that we can use in a variety of ways. So my favorite way to do this, you'll have seen this if you've seen these videos before, is to steam them. If you have fresh eggs, this is the easiest way to peel them. So I just get some water boiling in the bottom of a pot with a steam basket. Once that water is boiling, add the eggs in, cover it, and I'll steam them for 12 minutes if I'm doing hard-boiled. For soft-boiled, I'll do 6 minutes or somewhere in between. At this point, the crackers had been in the oven for about 10 minutes, and I am getting them sliced. So I like to do this with a pizza cutter. I find that to be the easiest way to do it. And then those are gonna go back into the oven to continue cooking until they're nice and golden brown. A big focus of my meal prep is always protein. I'm actually prepping quite a bit less protein than I typically do today, just because of some of the meal plans that I know I have this week. But I did decide to cook up a package of our breakfast sausage from some pork that we raised last year, and that way we have these cooked and ready to go in the fridge, and it just speeds up the process a little bit in the morning. So while we're cooking up some eggs, I can just add a couple of those to the skillet as well, and it just makes the process that much faster. Once those eggs were done cooking, I transferred those to a bowl of cold water. I don't bother doing an ice bath. I just let the tap run cold for about a minute, and then I'm going to allow those to cool completely in that bowl, and they're going to be super easy to peel. The main reason that I'm prepping a little bit less protein this week is because I knew that tonight I was going to be cooking up a spatchcock chicken, and with that we would have plenty of chicken leftovers to use for lunches throughout the week. So I am cooking up some basmati rice, and I'm just giving that a good rinse to get off some of the starch. And pretty much any time that I cook grains, I will cook it in chicken bone broth. That's just going to add a lot of flavor as well as nutrition. When the crackers are done in the oven, I like to allow them to fully cool on the baking sheet, and you'll notice that they start to crisp up a little bit more as they cool. These store super well in just an airtight container. Another thing that I'm prepping today for the rice bowls that I'm anticipating having throughout the week for lunches are some crispy chickpeas. So I have a pint of some home canned chickpeas, and I'm just draining and rinsing those off really well, and I like to dry them completely. I just use a dish towel for that. And I'm going to be roasting these. So you can do whatever combination of herbs or spices that you like. And for these, I'm just transferring those into a baking dish, going to drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil and then add on my seasonings. Today, I'm seasoning these with some salt. I'm also adding some paprika, some garlic powder, and some parsley. And those are going to go into a 400-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're nice and crisp. The thing that I love about meal prepping this way is it gives me a lot more flexibility. It means that I have some items ready to go on hand that make it really easy when I'm not feeling like cooking or I just don't have the time. And then it also allows me to put things together in a variety of ways so that I'm not getting sick of eating the same thing over and over. I swear by the method of steaming eggs. I find that it's the easiest way to peel them, and especially for really fresh eggs. These eggs are from our chickens. They're only a couple days old by the time that I'm steaming them, and the shell comes off in just a few pieces, especially if they're hard boiled. When they're soft boiled, it can be a little bit more tricky, but they still come out a lot cleaner than any other method that I've tried. Today, I am also restocking our freezer with some freezer smoothies. I love doing this because it's something that my husband can take to work with him without having to blend something up every day. So I'm using some full-fat canned coconut milk in this. This is just part of a can and it's been in the fridge. That's why it is rock solid in there. And I am also diluting that with some water. Now, I'm just using up a bunch of frozen fruit that I had in the freezer. I'm doing a mixture of frozen blueberries and some frozen raspberries. And I'm also going to add in some frozen spinach as well. For the protein component, I'm using collagen peptides. I'll link the ones that I really like in the description box down below. sourced from grass-fed cows, glyphosate residue free. They're really high quality. Now, collagen is not a complete protein, so that's not perfect, but it is adding some protein into these smoothies, and this is going to be consumed alongside other things. So this is just a great way to get in some fruit and veggies. Another great way to increase protein, if you can tolerate dairy, is by adding Greek yogurt into these. This batch I'm doing dairy-free, and I freeze these in mason jars. Just make sure to use one without a shoulder and leave plenty of headspace. I also needed to restock on some of my homemade avocado oil mayonnaise, and I typically will make this using an immersion blender. That is by far the easiest way to do it, but mine has broke. So I'm gonna be doing this in the blender, which is still super easy to do. So you only need a few ingredients for this, things that you likely already have on hand. And I'm going to be adding to my blender 1 egg, and then I do a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I typically will do some lemon juice as well, but I was all out of fresh lemons and bottled lemon juice. So I just did a little bit more apple cider vinegar, add in a little bit of mustard, yellow mustard, Dijon, either works, a bit of salt, and I like to do a little bit of paprika as well. So if you're doing this with an immersion blender, you can just add all of the ingredients, oil included, into a pint-sized jar and blend it right in there. You just want to leave the immersion blender at the bottom of the jar until it is completely emulsified. However, as I mentioned, mine is broken, so I'm doing this in the blender. And in that case, you need to slowly, very slowly, add in the oil to allow it to slowly mix in. Otherwise, you're going to see your mayonnaise separate. So if you've ever had that issue, you are likely just adding in the oil a little bit too quickly. This was a pretty simple meal prep, so the last thing that I'm doing is getting some carrots washed up, and I'm going to have some chopped and ready to go in the fridge, and I'm also going to grate some to have on hand for salads or those rice bowls that I'm planning to make this week. That wraps up today's video. It was a pretty simple one, but I got some essentials stocked and ready to go in our fridge to get us through the week ahead. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.